If you've been here at Manchester since about 2012, right, it was at a place called Deep Dale, Preston North End's ground, from 2002. Got any financial difficulties, Manchester got a bidding and we got museum. In here and in the archives we've got about 50,000 things, items. In here 2,500. I will not tell you about them all, right, because you'll be bored. We'll tell you what we think is the most special things we've got in the museum. The very first thing, the book. Now this is the Book of Laws. Now, are you from Sheffield? You'll argue with this, won't you? You think you created...
Laws or Book of Lies?
Hey.
Is it Book of Laws or Book of Lies?
Laws. Right, do you know Hurley? Do you know why they're called Book of Laws? Do you know why they're laws rather than law? No. What they are for is because all them guys that started football, university educated, they're the cream of the crop, basically. So they're a bit, it's not rules, it's laws. Now before that book is written, everybody plays a different game of football, right? What you're talking about, basically, rugby is the main sport these guys are playing. Cricket's the other one. Rugby's what they're playing. Rugby's before football, right? Football only comes in to keep them fit during the winter months. Did you know that? That's what it's basically all about, right? Now here's your split. Neither tripping nor hacking shall be allowed. No player shall raise his hands to hold or push his adversary, right? That's your split. Some of them, there was 50 clubs at that original meeting.
Soonest never went back.
I know that, no. Neither did Blimmin. Who was the other one? Bruce Rialt was another animal. Bruce Rialt and Don Masson. Masson was a good player, but Brian Rialt was a dog. But that's your split between football and rugby, right? But before that, I'd come to you, do you want a game of football? You go, yeah. I'll say, you say, right, good. I'll say, right, we're playing by my laws, right? You'll do the exact opposite when we're playing with you. You could play rugby, you went, that's your laws. So that's how your football basically comes around. Once that's written, it's not until 1937 we get the pitch the way it is now. It changes all the time. As it says, that's the very first book of laws. Now you're walking over this way. Now you should be happy with this. What we've got here is the first, it's an England jumper from the very first Scotland-England international. Recognised, right? Before that there's 5 games. They're not recognised, basically because the Scots are all from London area, right? The Scots complain. Who's the team? Who's the team?
They're Queen's Park.
That's it, Queen's Park. Queen's Park are the Scottish team, basically. They're the only team in Scotland. There's not even an FA at this point.
I thought you were asking me for the 11 names just now.
No, you're all right. I can tell you some of them. But no, what happens there is the Scots are whinging. They're saying, look, how can you call us Scotland if you're not playing any Scotsmen? So they say, right, we'll do you a favour. We'll play you. Where do you want the game? Scots went Glasgow, right? What date do you want? They went the 30th of November, St Andrew's Day, right? The thing about it is, the reason Queen's Park are there, Queen's Park are playing in the very first FA Cup, which the first FA Cup final was played 6 months before that game, right? What was the Scotland? How did the Scots and the English line up? You know? No. 1-1-8, no, 1-1-8, 2-2-6 for England. So what they're doing is they're basically playing football like that. With the ball. They're not keeping protecting the ball. They're not playing football.
Right passing.
That's why they're playing it. Name passing? No. I'll tell you about that in a second. When we come about here, we're at 1889, 89, what we've got, professional football's come in. They're not getting paid for playing the game. They are. Right? They are getting paid. Now, what happens is, William McGregor, the chairman of Aston Villa, he's a bit unhappy about this. because they're paying players just for the FA Cup, right? So what happens is he founds a league. There is 6 Northern teams, Northwest teams, 6 Midlands teams, right?
Yep.
6 Preston North End. No, man, I've got to get it right now. Preston North End, Bolton Wanderers, Blackburn Rovers, Burnley, I think Stoke City and Accrington Stanley. No, it's Preston North End and Stanley. Preston North End are the first team to win it. They're the first team to win the league. But they never got a trophy. The trophy's ruined now, but they never got a trophy. The first team to win the trophy was Everton, but they won the league twice before them. There you go. A wee thing to show you, you should be happy about this. 6 of them players are Scots. And the reason being, the Scots have learned how to pass the ball. You know what I mean? They learned to pass the ball before the English players. So every team in England is going to Scotland and getting players and then making them professionals. So
Plus the chairman was McGregor.
Aye, William McGregor, Scots guy. But is it, well, Sunderland played Renton 19 something, I can't remember the exact one. And they played for the Championship of Great Britain. There wasn't an Englishman in the park. There was not one Englishman on that park. Now, if you come here, first World Cup, Uruguay. Now, 2 questions. One, why Uruguay? Well, that's one question, but why Uruguay? Basically because Europe weren't interested. Uruguay it's an up-and-coming nation. They see South America as the Europe, the new Europe, basically. But the other thing is Uruguay have won the Olympic title twice, right? That's why they picked Uruguay. Only 13 teams turn up, 7 South American, 2 North American and 4 Europeans. Us Brits didn't want to know. We've got our own competition, it's the home internationals. We are not interested in playing the rest of the world, right? But as things we happen, we had to learn how to play them. Favourite thing there, England, it's not because of that. It's not because of that. Because of the Scottish English thing. No. I love that because it's a moment where English football goes bing. We've got to play football.
The first team from abroad would be England at home.
Yes. But at Wembley. At Wembley. You've got to remember at Wembley. But they've not been playing at Wembley for a long, long time. They played at Wembley in 1923, but it's basically FA Cups and only a few games. Scotland beat them at Wembley in the 1920s. But, as I say, it's this one's what you call it. They didn't beat them at Wembley 20s. They did because 1923.
Yeah, Wembley Wizards.
What we got there, Alf Ramsey. That's Alf Ramsey's signature.
Aye.
Right, he played for England at the time. And what he's done is, from that game, English have gone like that. 10 years later, Spurs win the European Cup Winners' Cup. First British team to win a cup. 1965 it's West Ham that gets it. 66 England get the World Cup. 67 Celtic European Cup. 68 Manchester United win the European Cup. And then 68-69 Leeds United, Newcastle United first cup. Manchester City European Cup Winners' Cup in 1970. So for that's what I like about it, because it's a big wake-up call for everybody. Even the Scots with Jock Stein, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? That's the wake-up call. World Cup, will it? English can sell sand to the...
We'll hear that in this.
No, I'm going to tell you about the World Cup winner there. 1968, Manchester United, Alex Stepney.
This is his shirt, is it?
That's his shirt, yeah. And the last thing on here, it's not really important. What it's trying to show you is, if you look at the England shirt down there, right, that's wool,
Yeah.
right? 3,000 to 4,000 go to that game in Glasgow. If you look at that one, that's man-made. It's made for the players nowadays. Adidas, German company. Samsung, South Korean company. Didier Drogba, Russian oligarch, London team that has played in France, and billions are watching that game all over the world. Basically, that's what that's all about. And then you get the Vuvuzela. Nobody likes the Vuvuzela. Now, if you walk this way,
You've got an Aberdeen scarf there,
Eh? Oh God, don't it?
Is that local?
Hillsborough. I'll tell you about that in a bit.
Alright.
But no, I won't. You keep walking this way. So, are you going to win the Scottish Cup?
I hope so.
I'd like to see you do something. I'd like to see somebody else win something for a change. But he's got a stranglehold in that game.
I was wandering around and scored a goal and taking the road.
That's what Rangers and Celtic tried to do. Why the player then get rid of him? You know, they've done that to Celtic have done that to Hibs for a long time. Now, what we got here is your FA Cup section. Now, if you're about here, see that champion of the world, I'll tell you about that as well. It's all FA Cup stories. Right, so what you got? Charles Alcock is the man that comes up with the idea for the FA Cup. Right, he also comes up with the idea for the England-Scotland games. Right, he is the secretary of the Wanderers Football Club. He's the secretary of the FA, and he's also the secretary of Surrey Cricket Club. Right, first team to win the FA Cup, Wanderers. They won it 1-0. Queen's Park were in the semi-final, but then they went home because they couldn't afford to play the replay, so they went home. Typical Scots at that time. But you see, that's your very first FA Cup winners medal from 1872. There you go. That was given to the players by the committee of the Wanderers. Wasn't given by the FA. They gave them a silken badge. Now, as it says before, he's the secretary of Surrey Cricket Club, right? So where's the first ever FA Cup final played?
Cricket pitch. The Oval.
Where?
The Oval?
Correct. The Oval Cricket pitch. Oh, don't do that, man, there. That sort of thing.
Well, the first international in Scotland and England was on a cricket pitch as well.
Aye, West of Scotland cricket pitch. But that's where they were one of the areas that had the land that they could play their pitches in. They didn't have, there was very few stadiums. And in fact, I'll ask you a daft question. Of the 13 teams, right, it says there, 15 teams. Of the 15 teams that took part in that very first FA Cup competition, right, how many of them are professional now? And you will be surprised. How many have gone professional? Or how many are still playing as a professional team?
3. 1.
Do you know what one is? Never played with it. They weren't even thought of then. Who was it?
Wednesday?
They weren't at it. Queen's Park. They only became professional in 2019. All the rest of them have either folded or amateur clubs. Crystal Palace played, but they weren't. It wasn't the Crystal Palace we know and love.
Only
What's
one player,
happening?
I think only one player.
Say again?
Only one player or one team?
What's that? One team.
player.
One team. The only one team is now professional, that's Queen's Park. What's happening there? Right, now I'll leave it where he's not come, but I'll show you something else first. Right. Come back and press these, right, because I'll show you what they do. There you go.
Aston Villa in the 1890s. A fine set of chaps. Well done. The people of Birmingham were very proud of their team. In 1895, they won the FA Cup. Hurrah! Well
You
done.
sound like rummies, don't they?
Villa loaned the FA Cup to Mr. William Shilper. His company made football
And I bet
kits
you they
and
were on
balls,
their 20s, that lot.
and he put the FA Cup in his shop window for all to see. One night, it was stolen and never seen. And in future, we advise you to exercise greater care as the trophies entrusted to us. Many years later, in 1957, when Villa won the cup again, a homeless man named Harry Burge claimed he had stolen the cup and then melted it down to make half-crowns. No one knows if this is true. What we do know is this. Some of the most famous clubs in English football have won the FA Cup, but only one team has lost the FA Cup, Aston Villa.
That's your second FA Cup there, and that is the genuine second FA Cup. Sheikh Mansour at Manchester City owns that. He bought it from David Gold or Andrew Gold, whatever his name was, from Birmingham, who went to West Ham. He bought that sort of thing. That's been in here since I've been in here, so we've always had it on loan. But he's an owner of that. Now, that FA Cup was stolen in 1895. In 1982, Aston Villa had the European Cup magically stolen as well. They had a, what do you call it? They had an event outside.
They must have got it back.
I'll show you this now. This lady's just
The first to be played at the Empire State. The two teams that reached the final were Bolton Wanderers and West Ham United. What no one could have predicted was the size of the crowd. Over 200,000 people turned up. They went through turnstiles. They went over turnstiles. They went over walls. They spilled onto the pitch. The start of the game was delayed. It was a miracle no one was killed. Something had to be done. PC Scory arrived on a white horse. Slowly, but surely, he took command. The crowd eased back, the pitch was cleared, and the game took place.
That's how they played the game.
From then on, every cup final has been all ticket. Bolton went on to win by 2-0. But the game would be known forever as the White Horse Final.
You know there's a bridge at the Wembley, the new Wembley called the White Horse Bridge? Yeah. What do you call it? The horse was called Billy. Right. Policeman was given a ticket for every game after that and never went to the final. He was, what do you call it, he was a rugby fan. Now if you walk this way, going to explain a wee bit about the European Cup now. European Champions League or European Cup, right? Wolverhampton Wanderers, Honved, no, Spartak Moscow, got that wrong, Spartak Moscow. What they do is they get floodlights put around their ground, right? And then they decide to have competition against, just friendlies, against top European opposition. Now they beat Spartak Moscow, they're up 4-0. They beat Celtic 2-1, and then they play Honved and beat Honved 3-2. Reason I'm telling you that is, Honved are classed as one of the best teams in Europe at the time. They're the Hungarians. The Hungarians are the best team in Europe at this time. So, English media, champions of the world. We're the champions of the world. Frenchmen, no you're not. This is just a friendly. You cannot call yourself champions of the world. So what he does, and it's a magazine, he's writing for a magazine called Le Quick, French magazine, and he writes, and it's him that creates the European Cup 2 years later. Question, what do you need to be to play in the European Champions League? What do you need? No. Floodlights. Floodlights, because it was played on a Wednesday. Your first 20 teams, 7 of them are champions of the league. Chelsea are the English champions, you're the Scottish champions. You were invited, but they never took place because the FA didn't want them to do it.
That's true.
Go on.
The reason Aberdeen didn't get to play in 1955 was suggested by the chairman of Hibs.
Yes.
And Scotland should put the team in. Because of that, the SFA said, okay, Hibs can go in.
I never knew that, but that's a good bit of information.
That's a bit of information for you. What's in the history of Aberdeen?
Did they have floodlights at that time? Aberdeen.
I thought so.
Because I know the English.
They paid the electric bill, that would have
Don't say things like that. No, United, no, Chelsea was frowned upon. They frowned it, the FA frowned on it, they didn't want it. There were 4 or 5 teams the English didn't want to get. The World Cup's in Nirvana. Didn't want to play in it. Now, if you come up here, this is the disaster. Now, I'm not going to dwell on it, but this is the disaster. Man United flying back from Belgrade, They beat Belgrade, coming back, landed at Munich airport, refueled, tried to take off. It was heavy snowed, so what they did was try to take off 3 times, never took off, plane crashed. And the ones that were there, the players that never came back, they were all killed. That's the most famous, well, the dead ones, Duncan Edwards. I nearly says Duncan Ferguson. Duncan, stop talking.
Plane crash with you,
Stop talking. Keep thinking you're all Scottish. Duncan Edwards. But the thing I'll finish on that. Bobby Charlton, Bill Fulks, right? They two carried on playing for United until 1968, and both of them won a European Cup winners' medal in '68. You know what I mean? Again, stupid. Why did they have to get back? They had to get back because the FA didn't want them even being playing there. I mean, the same happened to Celtic in '67 or no '67, but that's when they were in it. They had to get back. In fact, it was '67 because they flew in, landed at London, up Scotland and played Dundee United. They landed at 12 o'clock at night and drove up there. They didn't want the clubs to play in them competitions. But that's a good one. I'm going to look that up. You walk this way. Now, I'd advise you to stay away from this section. English. You'll see that at Hampden if you've not already been. That's your very first.
Actually.
That's your very first Scotland-England game. Yeah. But you won't see that at Hampden because they've got a copy of that as well. Your first World Cup. And if you look at that, there's your first 3 winners. Who's number 3? Henry with good eyes. Who was third in this competition? No?
Brazil, possibly?
Nope, it was the United States of America. And that's the highest.
I thought you meant the first winner.
That's the highest they've ever finished in the World Cup.
They beat England.
Yeah.
What was 1950?
1950 they beat England, yeah. That's the third. A wee Olympic medal for you, 1908, right? Great Britain. And then you've also got the first World Cup. As I say to you down there, the FA didn't want them to do anything but play for the name, basically. And that's what he called it. There was a TV programme, Dennis Waterman. Remember it? The English game, no, the English game. The first World Cup, Dennis Waterman was in it.
Yes, I seen that long ago. It was in Italy, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. But West Auckland won it in 1909, and then they played again in 1911 and won it a second time. West Auckland.
Yes.
But the thing about it was,
Bishop Auckland.
You sure? I think it was West.
Maybe it was West.
Yeah, West Auckland. Don't you start that. No, I'm questioning myself. What do you call it? Not West Auckland.
Right.
But again, the FA frowned upon them. But they were the first one. They won it. It only lasted 2 competitions and that was it. It was over. Now, around here, the greatest player ever alive, Pele. I disagree, but I'm Scottish. I don't think there's anybody better than him. Anyway, Pele shirt, 1958. 17-year-old lad, that. You know what I mean? That's a good one, because it's 1954 and it's the German coach.
It's a coach.
Sepp Herberger. Now, the reason I'm showing you is West Germany played Hungary in the group stages and they got beat. Hungary beat them 8-3, right? But then they get them in the final and the Germans turn up then, beat them 3-2. But that's the end of the Hungarians being the best teams in Europe, because most of the players go. Puskas goes, Coxes goes to Barcelona, they all move on.
There was like an uprising in the fled, didn't there? Was there a political uprising in Puskas?
There was there as well, yeah. But they all played for Honved. They were all military team anyway. Honved, I think, was a military team as well. But they were the best trained players in the world at the time. Now, Marta, greatest woman player in the world. Sorry, I'm moving a bit too quick. Have I lost them? I usually always lose people, you know, right? There we go. Walk this way. Marta, greatest women football player in the world. Another Brazilian.
Who's isn't he? Very big. You should go into that wee shot.
I know, well, you look at him, he was only 17. You know what I mean? But you do get some of the players are tiny and great. That is Franz Beckenbauer for 1968. Reason that's there. That's a replica. That's a replica of the new World Cup, 1974. Now the reason the wee connection is Beckenbauer was the first player as a captain to pick that trophy up. Now the question: there's only been 3 players that won it as a player and a manager. Name them.
And
Here's one.
player and manager.
Anybody else? Mario Zagallo.
Deschamps.
Yeah, and Mario Zagallo.
Oh, the Brazilian.
And Zagallo and Beckenbauer died within weeks of each other. Now a wee bit about England. I'm sorry about this. I'm glad you're feeling my pain.
You've got to do it every day.
Oh no, we have to. Sometimes we don't get them. Gareth Southgate. That's a good one. That's an interesting one. That right. And what it was the blokes will find this one easy, interesting. 1948, England beat Italy 4-0. Right. Frank Swift is the goalkeeper. Look at that. Frank Swift's up there as goalkeeper for England, and he's the first English goalkeeper to be captain of his country. Where is he? Can you see his name?
Who?
Frank Swift, there he is. Right at the top, Frank Swift. Now, some of your English stuff. Southgate. I think that's Paul Ince, and that's Gary Neville, or Phil Neville. And then you've got a wee thing here. See the England-Scotland game? See that England-Scotland game? 1974, can you see where it's being played? Ravenscraig Stadium in Greenock, right? Do you know? No, yeah. Do you know why it's Ravenscraig Stadium? Women are allowed to play on men's grounds in Scotland. That ban never got lifted in Scotland until '74. Unbelievable. But there you go. 1 or 2 more things to show you. One walk this way. You avert your eyes, you Aberdonian. Come on. Where is he? He's not going to look at this. That's England winning the World Cup. Do you want to listen to this? 1966, England win the World Cup, right? And it's the only time they've won it, right? That used to be Jeff Hersher, but that's out in loan. In fact, let me have a look at it. Yeah. George Eastham, he never played in the competition, but that's an England shirt. That's the match ball, 1966 again.
Wow.
That is a World Cup winner's medal. We don't know who it belongs to. And that there is a replica of the World Cup. Right? The reason it's a replica, 1966 it got stolen. Right?
Oh.
Can you see through there where it says Pickles the hero? Yep, where it says Pickles the hero. That dog found the World Cup. That dog found the World Cup. And England, well, the whole nation smiled.
A hedge.
Under a hedge, yeah. yeah. But that dog found it. So what we did was we made a replica. That's a replica. Well, 1970 gave the original to right? That one went everywhere for England. That went everywhere with England for 66 to 1970. Right? And the one that was stolen, you've never seen it since. It's never been seen since. When that was refound, the FIFA thought that was the real one. But when they found that it wasn't, I think they gave it away something. The ball got an interesting story, right? 1960. Helmut Haller, German player, took that ball home. he said that the German says we believed it was the person who scored the first goal, not the hat-trick hero. Right? Now, people of a certain age will get this bit. You might get it, but one or two of the other ones won't. Right. Can you see the signature on that ball? There's a signature on that ball. Can you see it?
Looks like
I'll go.
Well, there we have it.
Go on.
Great players, great teams.
You're on the same right wavelength.
This museum is all about history of the game that
Thank
started and is now played and watched by millions all around.
It's really
You know what?
Yuri Geller's signature. What happened was they needed help to beat the Scots, and Yuri Geller helped them. And they stood there in front of the television, don't let them win, tell everybody in England, focus, and he signed it with me. He signed it with me, right? Yuri Geller, the biggest conman there. Now if you walk this way, follow me. There's two good ones upstairs in level 3. Huskus and Gentle.
Understand, sorry.
Di Stefano.
Okay.
Two more up the stairs, level 3. Gentle. Francisco Gentle.
Okay.
And Huskus. And they're upstairs, level 3.
Okay.
I'm just helping. What you've got here is again the European section, right? Ray Kennedy, and that's his winners' medals, right? And what he's done, he's won. Liverpool have won it 6 times. They're the best team in England as far as the European competitions go. Nottingham Forest, Kenny Burns. Now they've won the European Cup twice, but they've only won their own league once. And they beat Malmo. Was Wyram. Who was the other one? Was it Borussia Mönchengladbach?
It was Real Madrid.
Real Madrid. Was it?
John
I thought
Robertson.
Liverpool beat Real Madrid.
Oh, wait a minute. No. I think it was.
No, it's double. Hamburg and Malmo.
Hamburg. Yeah.
Here's me asking questions and the answers are there. But they won it twice. Manchester United, they've won it 3 times, right? And what they've done, that's 1999 Dennis Irwin shirt. They were getting beat 1-0 with 5 minutes to go. 2 substitutions and they won 3-2. 3-1. 2-1. I'm going mad. Real Madrid. His name is Alfredo Di Stefano, and he's won the European Cup 5 times. Not bad that. But we got a shirt upstairs and it's Gentle, Saint Rem, won it 6 times. 1955 to 1960, then 1966. Not bad, eh? I always lose people, you're alright. Manchester United programme. What team in England do you support?
Everyone.
I don't know.
Some friends in Bristol Park, some family friends, so I sort of like them, but I don't really watch it.
No, that's your very first programme at Old Trafford, right? That's no, 1910.
Wow.
1910. The thing is, Manchester United are playing Liverpool. 3-0 to Manchester United with 20 minutes to go. Liverpool beat them 4-3. Right? But the thing about it is, they moved to Old Trafford. Now, Old Trafford is the biggest industrial park in Europe, or it was at that time. So, the workmen get out of work. Where do they go? Straight to the football. Smart move. The other one about that is, they played at a ground at Bank Street. Do you know Manchester at all? Right, you ever watched the Manchester City games? You see Manchester City. Right across the road you've got an Asda supermarket. Right up for that, velodrome. That's Bank Street, that's where I used to play that game.
United used to play.
Yeah, used to. Up until 1910, then they moved out to Old Trafford. They had problems there. But the velodrome, that's where the British cycling team.
We got for the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah. You walk this way. Hey,
What's that doing there?
Archibald Beach.
What's that doing?
He built it. I think they did no build Patati. He done a lot of football there. Transfers from 1928 and they're made in Manchester. And that's off the Wembley Stadium. You got 2 seats there from Wembley you can sit on and have a photograph as well. Here, I'll show you some.
He was at Wembley once at the
I was as well.
1981 John Robertson's penalty.
I remember myself in Scotland.
1975, England versus West Germany.
Wembley.
Commentary by Peter Jones. Ball plays it out far side, a 1-2 there. McDonald and Whitworth together. Whitworth made it. Whitworth brought down there. It'll be a free kick to England. About 5 or 6 yards outside the field.
But they are just from each other right way. Crowd of promises about the crowd of United, Manchester City's about arguing with each other. Trophies. Here we got the FA Cup. 1910 that one's been from. We've been using that one from.
So is this the...
That's your third one, but it's a replica.
It's a replica. That's the replica of the existing one, is it?
Yes. That one there is the FA Amateur Cup. Right? That competition doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. Women's Cup, which they've got a new one. They have got a new one. They 3 are the League Cup.
I remember that one.
Carabao, they're still playing for that one now. Littlewoods Cup. Liverpool are the most successful team in the Milk Cup. There is your 3 same competition. And what it is it's sponsorship. And that's the only reason the 3 different things. Now if you walk around here, this is your very, very first league championship. Right, now as I say, Everton are the first team to win that. Right, and the thing about it is, it was only made 2 years after the first competition. So Everton are the first team to win that. It's a replica of that to play for in the championship now. First, second division shield, 1894 that. And that's what they play for. If you look there, Small Heath were the first team to win them. Oh, Small Heath. Now, do you know who they are? Birmingham City. Yeah, they're the first team to win it. And then you go to your third division south. But what you've got at that point, from 1923 to about 1958, third division south, third division north. It's only 58 when you get third or fourth division. There you go. Now I'll show you some there. I'm going to show you a wee bit about the women's game in England. There's another Scotsman. Played for Hearts. Well, yeah. Nick Ross. His brother played for Preston as well. Now, if you walk this way, now, this is a little bit about the women's game, right? But it's 1917.
During the First World War, men were called up to fight. So women went to work in munitions factories, making shells and bullets. The government wanted these factories to look after the women's health and encourage them to play sport. The game of choice for Britain's munitionettes was football.
All the women had to wear these hairnets.
One such factory was Dick Kerr and Co. in
I can't
Preston.
You don't work, you can't.
And Dick Kerr ladies became England's most successful women's football team of all time. They played their first game on Christmas Day 1917 and drew a crowd of 10,000 at Deepdale, the home of Preston North End. A record-breaking crowd of 53,000 saw them play at Goodison Park on Boxing Day 1920. They played international games in France, Belgium, Canada and the USA, and justifiably called themselves world champions. The Dick Kerr ladies faced challenging times when the FA banned the women's game from league grounds in 1921, but the team played on for another 40 years. All in all, they played 828 games, losing just 24. The FA ban on women's football lasted for 50 years. But the game was on the rise. Doncaster Belles started in 1969. Their enthusiasm for the game encouraged the FA to think again, and in 1971 the ban was lifted. Since then, the Belles have gone on to do the women's double twice and helped to re-establish the women's game. Women's football is now the fastest growing sport in the world.
And that's a wee bit about the women's game. We were nearly done, and I'll show you some there. That's the Victoria Cross for the First World War, and it belongs to him, Donald Simpson Bell. Played for Bradford Park Avenue. There was a lot of British football players, Scottish, English, Irishman, American sportsmen, all over the world died in this conflict, that sort of thing. Now, with this, you're right, and Donald Bell is the only professional English footballer to have been awarded the Victoria Cross. He is not the only footballer. Bernard Vann played for Nottingham Forest, but he was an amateur. So I don't know why they differentiate myself, but that's a wee bit of a differentiation. If you look at, there's a website called Football in the First World War. Now, I don't know if you've ever looked at it. It tells you all the English players, all the players that played for English clubs. I've done a wee bit of research on the Scottish players. I think there's over 300 that played for Scottish clubs. Aberdeen have got a 9. Hearts 13. Celtic have got about 3 or 4. Celtic, no, only one actually played for them at the time. They're moving on at our time. Rangers have got about 4, but they've all got players that got killed in that First World War. But I find it fascinating that it is a horrible subject, but he says he's Bernard. Played for Bradford Park Avenue. That club. And another one here is he's not the first black. You've got to put that first black professional footballer in there, because Andrew Watson was, what do you call it, an amateur, and he played 10 years before him. He played for Queen's Park and then he went to Scotland. You know what I mean? So you've always got to put what. I know, but even that's a wee bit wrong, because look, see there. There you go. He was a brave soldier. 17, he became the first black officer in the. That's rubbish. Because there was black officers in the Boer War. You know what I mean? There was a few. The reason I show you him is because he cheated a wee bit. Look at that. He broke records for sprinting and cycling, but he chose a career in football. A crowd pleaser, I once pulled down the crossbar to stop a goal. It wasn't a crossbar, it was red tape, because they didn't have crossbars at that time. So he pulled the red tape down to stop the goal. That was it. Last couple of things I'm going to show you. Go back to the ladies again. Lily Park, right? And that's the only statue you will see of a woman footballer in England, or in Britain even, right? Of a 30-year career, she scored nearly 950 goals, nearly 1,000 goals. She started at 14, she scored about 43 goals in one season. That sort of thing, that's a statue of Lily Park. Now if you're interested in why they banned the women's game, there you go. There's your 3 answers. This is your NFA book, and this is 3 of the reasons why we banned the women's game in England, or the reason they give. There you go. You said the women were giving the money to charity, basically. I'll be honest, the reason that we've done it is, right, I'm the FA, you're the league, so we're two organisations. I can't have a go at you because you're a millionaire businessman. Then you got the women. They've not got any sort of backup, they've got nothing, right? Get rid of them and we don't need them. And I think that's the real reason why we're getting rid of them. Now if you walk this way, last thing I'm going to show you. Right, that is actual size of the painting. That's actually the size of the painting now. Right? And what he did was in 1995 he kicked a fan, didn't he? Crystal Palace fan? Yes. He got banned for 8 months, and this guy here, Michael, what's his name? Michael Brown, painted that painting with cancer in it, and then the 4 lads. Now, if you're into Renaissance, are you into art? Are you into art at all?
Sorry?
Are you into art? Painting art?
No, no.
Well, that's what that is. It's 2 Renaissance paintings. That's the resurrection of Christ, and that's Hail Caesar. And this is what this guy does with all these paintings. He gets a major thing, paints it, and then he puts famous people in.
So that's Buckley level.
Yep.
That's full level, obviously.
Yep.
Beckham.
Yep.
Gary.
Yep.
Fergie.
Yep.
Who's this?
John Curtis. Never got many games for him. Played for Blackburn Rovers.
Looked a bit like Gaza.
He looks like Spencer Tracy. Away you go. Thanks very much for listening, and I hope you've enjoyed it.
Been good, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
As I says, go back in there and press the rest of them things because they'll tell you a wee bit more what I've not told you. There's 1 or 2 brilliant things in there as well. Thanks a lot. I'm retired in a couple of months. But it's interesting. There's a Man United children there, right? And United, Manchester City won the English Cup in 1904. They were the first in Manchester teams to win the cup. But by 1906, they were in a lot of problems.